When we bought our dream property on the edge of town, all we wanted was peace, a place for the kids to roam, and no one breathing down our necks. We made sure it wasn't in any HOA zone. We've dealt with that drama before. But the moment we started moving in, she showed up. Clipboard in hand, perfect hair, that tight, fake smile. The neighborhood's self-proclaimed queen, Karen. Turns out, she wasn't just any neighbor. She was the president of a nearby HOA and somehow decided we had to join her little kingdom. We politely declined, explained the property wasn't under her jurisdiction. That's when things turned weird. Daily visits, notes taped to our door, petty complaints. Then, one afternoon, while my wife and I were unloading groceries, we heard the sirens. Karen had actually called the cops, claiming we were illegally occupying land meant for HOA development. It was absurd, and we thought that'd be the end of it. But it wasn't. Not even close. What Karen didn't know was that her constant poking stirred something she couldn't control. One of the officers ran our address through the system and raised a few red flags. Not about us, but her. And within days, unmarked SUVs rolled into the neighborhood and stopped right at her front door. What followed next left the entire block frozen in disbelief, because the FBI doesn't show up unless things are serious. And trust me, what they uncovered. That was just the beginning. The days leading up to the raid were anything but normal. Karen's behavior had gone from annoying to downright unsettling. She paced our sidewalk like she owned the whole block, snapped photos of our house, even shouted at our kids for trespassing when they played too close to her roses. We kept our distance, not wanting to stir more trouble. Neighbors started whispering. Some said she wasn't just a bossy HOA president, that she'd had issues before. Quiet lawsuits, property disputes, and a strange obsession with controlling everything around her. We didn't think much of it until a man in a dark jacket showed up at our door. Not a cop, but someone from a federal agency. He asked about Karen, if we'd noticed anything strange, if she ever mentioned money, contracts, or asked us to sign documents we didn't understand. We told him the truth. She tried to force us into signing fake HOA agreements, using threats about zoning violations and made-up bylaws. He nodded like he'd heard this story before. Later that night, we saw him walking out of her house. No knock, no warning. Just straight in with a badge on his belt and a folder in his hand. Karen looked shaken. For the first time, her perfect smile cracked. Something big was coming, and we didn't know whether to be scared or relieved. But one thing was clear. This wasn't about us anymore. She'd brought the storm to her own doorstep. It didn't take long before more unmarked cars started circling the neighborhood. At first, folks thought maybe a new family was moving in, or there was some kind of neighborhood watch patrol going on. But the truth, it was Karen. She wasn't just running an HOA. She was running a full-blown scam out of her pristine little home. Rumors spread that she'd been forging signatures on legal documents, setting up phony dues accounts, and threatening people into silence. Most of us thought she was just a control freak with a clipboard. Nobody imagined she was hiding something this serious. I started noticing neighbors avoiding her. People who used to wave or stop to gossip at her driveway suddenly turned their heads. One older couple down the street quietly packed up and moved out, said they were done with the drama. Meanwhile, Karen was getting bolder. She sent another letter claiming our porch paint didn't meet community standards, then threatened to report us to code enforcement, even though we weren't legally part of any HOA. That's when it got worse. One night, we heard shouting down the block. Karen had cornered a delivery driver, accusing him of spying. We watched from our window as he tried to calm her down, but she kept pointing to a package like it was some kind of planted evidence. The next day, 2 FBI agents knocked on our door again. But this time, they weren't just asking questions, they were piecing something together. And Karen was right at the center of it. The tension in the neighborhood was thick. No one said anything out loud, but you could feel it, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for something to explode. Karen kept strutting around like she owned the block, but the energy had shifted. She wasn't just the HOA bully anymore. She was being watched. Unmarked cars were parking farther down the street now. Neighbors whispered over fences and looked over their shoulders when they walked their dogs. And Karen, she was acting even more paranoid, pacing in her driveway on the phone at all hours, locking her mailbox with a heavy-duty padlock, even installing new security cameras around her home. The FBI agents returned, not just once, but multiple times, sometimes with folders, other times just observing. They spoke with neighbors, asked quiet questions, took photos. But they were tight-lipped. I tried to ask what was going on, but all they'd say was, just part of an ongoing investigation. Then something odd happened. A moving van showed up in front of Karen's house late one evening. No lights, no company name on the side. Two guys loaded boxes in silence. No one saw Karen. Some of us thought she was skipping town, but the next morning, her car was still there. And there she was, smiling like nothing had happened, watering her flowers like it was just another peaceful morning. That afternoon, one of the agents stopped me by my driveway. "Keep your family close tonight," he said. "Things are about to move fast." That night, just after midnight, the quiet hum of the neighborhood was broken by flashing lights. More than a dozen black SUVs rolled in silently like shadows. My heart pounded as I peeked through the blinds. Oh, Walt. This wasn't just a visit. This was a raid. Agents in tactical gear moved fast, surrounding Karen's house with practiced precision. Within minutes, the front door was breached. A loud bang echoed down the street, followed by shouting. We all knew something serious was going down, but no one expected what came next. As agents hauled out boxes of evidence, computers, and files, word began to spread. Karen wasn't just the overbearing HOA president. According to a neighbor who worked in local government, Karen was allegedly running an illegal property scam under the radar, forging HOA documents and rerouting dues from unsuspecting homeowners into fake accounts. That mandatory HOA we refused to join, it didn't legally exist. She had made it all up, and here's the twist no one saw coming. Karen wasn't even her real name. One of the agents confirmed she had changed her identity years ago after fleeing a different state, where she'd pulled a similar scam. Suddenly, everything made sense. The paranoia, the secretive behavior, the aggressive control over the neighborhood. As the FBI continued their operation, neighbors gathered silently, watching the empire she built crumble. The same woman who had called the cops on my family for not following her fake HOA rules was now the center of a federal investigation. But it wasn't over yet. By morning, the entire neighborhood was buzzing. News vans had shown up, and Karen, real name Cassandra Monroe, was being led out in handcuffs. Her perfectly maintained appearance shattered. The FBI agents confirmed the charges: fraud, identity theft, mail tampering, and wire fraud. The forged HOA documents, submitted to banks to secure loans under a shell organization. Those dues she bullied neighbors for, laundered through fake contractors and redirected to hidden accounts. She'd been playing a dangerous game for years, and it had finally caught up to her. As investigators combed through her house, they found binders full of fake contracts and even surveillance logs she kept on certain residents, including us. That welcome package she tried to hand us weeks earlier. It was laced with tracking stickers. She had been watching us closely ever since we refused to comply. The cops she called on us weren't just about enforcing HOA rules. It was part of a bigger plan to intimidate and force compliance with her scam. The court case moved faster than anyone expected. With overwhelming evidence and several victims coming forward, Cassandra took a plea deal to avoid a lengthy trial. She admitted. 2 years of fraud and manipulation. But just when we thought it was all over, a man showed up at our door. He introduced himself as a federal agent, but not from the FBI. He slid a card across the table and said, "There's someone bigger behind this." Karen was just the front. And just like that, the story wasn't quite finished. At first, that final knock at the door sent a chill down our spines. After everything we'd been through with Karen, her fake HOA, the threats, and the FBI raid, we weren't sure who we could trust. But the agent who visited us wasn't there to bring bad news. He explained that Karen had been working with a larger network that ran fake HOAs across the country, exploiting neighborhoods just like ours. We were lucky, he said. By standing our ground and refusing to sign, we triggered the investigation that unraveled the whole operation. The aftermath brought surprising peace to our small community. Neighbors who had once kept their distance started coming together, sharing stories of Karen's manipulation and subtle threats. It turned out she had kept everyone in fear with fake fines, letters, and even false legal notices. But now, with her gone and the scam exposed, there was room to rebuild.